There was a time when Earth breathed poison, when the sky was heavy and the oceans held no life. No wind carried birdsong, no creature walked the shore. The world was ancient, alien, and absolutely silent. But beneath those dark waters, something existed. Ancient, invisible, impossibly small, waiting in the silence below, tiny beyond imagination. A single living thing so small no eye could ever see it, yet it would change everything. The land was nothing but barren rock and fire. The oceans were the only cradle life had ever known. Above the water, nothing lived. The rocks were bare. The sky was poison. The earth belonged to no one. From above, Earth looked like a forgotten world. Dark, alone, drifting silently through space with no sign of hope. Yet in that darkness, something was already stirring. So small, so quiet that destiny had not yet noticed it. It had no eyes, no legs, no voice. Yet it was alive, and it had just begun to breathe. Cyanobacteria, the smallest living thing on Earth. Clinging to rocks in shallow water, invisible to any eye. It fed on sunlight. The first creature in history to turn light into life. A miracle no one witnessed. Slowly, silently, it multiplied. Across the seafloor, across the rocks. Spreading without sound, without warning, without stopping. And as it breathed, it released something the Earth had never known before. A gas, pure and invisible, oxygen, rising in tiny bubbles from the seafloor toward the surface. Beautiful, silent, and absolutely deadly. For the ancient world, oxygen was not life. It was poison, and it was rising, slowly filling every ocean. From above, nothing looked different. The sky was still gray, the ocean still dark, but everything had already changed. The oxygen kept rising, silent and invisible, filling the oceans with something ancient life had never encountered before. For billions of years, life had thrived without it. Oxygen was foreign, toxic, a slow, invisible fire spreading everywhere. The first victims were the smallest. Ancient microbes that had ruled the oceans for 2 billion years began dying. They had no warning, no escape. The poison crept into every corner of every ocean, silent as a shadow. Entire species vanished without a sound. No explosion, no asteroid. Just a slow, invisible tide of death rising. The oxygen continued rising from below. Beautiful tiny bubbles carrying the end of a world nobody had ever seen. Above the surface, the oceans began to change color. Iron in the water reacted, turning vast seas rust brown. The earth was bleeding. Slowly, silently across every ocean, the greatest dying the world had ever known had begun. From above, the planet looked wounded. Vast brown stains spreading across ancient blue oceans, a world quietly ending. But not everything died. In the deepest, darkest cracks of rock, something held on, stubborn, silent, refusing to surrender. Deep below the surface, where oxygen could not yet reach, ancient life found refuge in the darkness below. Around hydrothermal vents on the ocean floor, heat and minerals rose from deep inside the earth itself. Here in complete darkness, surviving organisms clung to life, fed by heat, not sunlight, untouched by the poison above. These were the last of the old world, hidden in darkness, unknown, unaware they were carrying the future inside them. Above them, the catastrophe continued. But down here in the deep, life waited, patient, enduring, quietly adapting to survive. In the darkness between the dying world above and the ancient heat below, something new was slowly beginning. Slowly, over millions of years, the catastrophe ended. The oceans cleared, the skies began to breathe again. What had been poison slowly became possibility. Oxygen now filled the atmosphere, waiting for something new to use it. On the rocks at the shoreline, the first visible life appeared. Thin, fragile, clinging to stone, but alive. In the shallow waters, new organisms appeared, more complex than anything before. Built from the wreckage of the old world, they were different, stronger, carrying oxygen inside their bodies now, using it as fuel to grow and move. Life had not just survived the catastrophe, it had been rebuilt by it, transformed into something completely new and powerful. The oceans that had once been graveyards were now nurseries, teeming with new forms of life never seen before. The sky cleared, the sun returned, and the earth, wounded and transformed, began the greatest chapter in its history. That catastrophe happened 2 billion years ago, and yet you carry its legacy inside every cell of your body. Every breath you take today is oxygen, the same gas that once ended an entire world, now sustaining yours. The very air in your lungs right now was made by the smallest creature that ever lived on Earth. Cyanobacteria did not mean to save the world. They simply lived. And in living, they made our existence possible. The greatest catastrophe in Earth's history was also its greatest gift. Without it, none of us would exist today.